After finding out my wife's baby wasn't mine, I disappeared. Years later, she tracked me down. The day my wife gave birth was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I believed our future had finally begun, and I couldn't stop smiling as I held what I thought was my child. But one DNA test destroyed everything. The baby wasn't mine. My wife collapsed in tears, begging me to forgive her. She called it a mistake and promised it would never happen again. I looked into her eyes, said nothing, packed a single bag, and disappeared without leaving a goodbye. For years, nobody knew where I had gone. I built a completely new life, started my own business, and turned my pain into success. The betrayal that almost destroyed me became the reason I refused to ever be weak again. 7 years later, on a rainy afternoon, someone knocked on my office door. When I opened it, my heart nearly stopped. It was my ex-wife. She looked exhausted, broken, and older than I remembered. Standing beside her was a little boy, silently holding her hand. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Please, hear me out." I almost closed the door, but then the little boy looked up at me, and something about his face made me freeze. She admitted that the man she cheated with abandoned her only months after I left. She spent years searching for me, because there was one truth she had never told me. Then she handed me a small envelope. Inside were documents that completely changed everything. I believed about the DNA tests, our marriage, and the child standing in front of me. My hands started shaking as I read every page. The truth was far more complicated than I had ever imagined. She confessed that lies, manipulation, and one shocking decision by another family member had destroyed our lives. Everything I had hated for years suddenly felt different, but the pain she caused me was real, and no explanation could erase the nights I spent alone rebuilding myself from nothing. She begged for one final chance. She said she didn't expect forgiveness, only the opportunity to tell the entire truth before I made my decision. I looked at the boy again. He had no idea how many lives had been shattered before he was even old enough to understand. My mind was filled with anger, heartbreak, regret, and questions that had haunted me for years. I had spent 7 years believing I knew the truth, yet one conversation changed everything. The life I built without her was peaceful, successful, and free from betrayal. If I opened that door again, I risked losing everything I had fought to protect. But if I walked away forever, I might never learn the full truth behind the biggest betrayal of my life. I took a deep breath, looked into her tear-filled eyes, and made a decision that neither of us would ever forget. That single choice changed all of our lives forever.